So there I was. I thought I'd made the best presentation of my life. And my client turned to me and said, Julius, when my father passed away, he left me nothing. And I seem to be doing fine. When I go, my kids will do just fine. Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmaster, and welcome guests. This statement probed deep in my heart. What did my client mean by, my father left me nothing? I started thinking about my legacy. And I started thinking, what is legacy? Well, legacy is defined in a dictionary as a gift of something transmitted from the past by an ancestor or predecessor. Well, this led me all the way back to my grandfather. My grandfather, Clement Shotunde Adewumi, was a first-generation Catholic, and he was a procurer of goods and services in Lagos, Nigeria. He had a unique opportunity. He procured goods and services for the local indigenous Nigerians, the former slaves from Brazil, and the British. Now, I recall stories about my grandfather where the British would come up to him and say, hey, Clement, old boy, could you help us find a good local accountant for one of our small businesses? And my grandfather, who always used to wear a hat, would take off his hat and scratch his head and say, I think I have the ability. The indigenous Nigerians would come up to him and say, Mr. Adewumi, can you please help us procure a license for one of our small businesses? And once again, he would take off his hat, scratch his head and say, I think I have the ability. When his future mother-in-law came up to him and said, Clement, you've met my beautiful daughter. Can you please help us find a good man for her? He opened up his arms and he said, Mom, I know I have the ability. My grandfather became known as CS Ability, his ability to get things done, and he did. He used to say to my father, who was also known as Clem, Clem, just do your best and let God handle the rest. He transmitted this legacy to my father. My father, Clement Shotunde Adewumi, now he worked for British Petroleum for a number of years and became the first owner of a utility gas company in Nigeria. Now my father endured a lot of stress in those early years. I remember government officials wanted him to liberalize the laws of the gas industry in Nigeria. His technical partners involved the French, the British, the Americans, and the Belgians. They wanted him to import as many gas appliances and gas industry into the country. All he wanted to do all the while was serve Nigerians. He wanted to make a better life for Nigerian people. He used to say to me, Julius, if a wealthy man is to enjoy his riches, he better make sure that the average man, the common man, has the ability to earn a living and also provide for his or her lifestyle and her family. My father was trying to teach me that to earn was to serve. Behind every man, it is often said that there's a great woman, but not so in the case of my mother. See, beside this successful man was an amazing woman, my mother. My mother, Teresa Olushola Adewumi, was one of the first women to hold the position of VP of Human Resources for a major Nigerian corporation. Now, in the 60s, this wasn't easy. This was unheard of, especially back then. I recall early in her days, she would take us into school in the morning, go back to work, come back home in the evening, where she became wife, mother, and manager of the entire household. Now, as a young man, I would bicker back and forth with my mom sometimes. And she would say, Julius, it only takes a wise person half a word. You tell a wise person half a word. When it gets inside, and it becomes a whole word. I used to say, Mom, can you just tell me the word? Tell me. My mom was trying to teach me that in life, your principles stay the same. The situations, your circumstances will differ, but your principles stay the same. And how you define the world, how you see the world, ultimately defines your life and your legacy. I ask you, what kind of legacy are you going to leave? What are your most valued treasures, most valued possessions? Will they multiply when they're shared? Is it going to be a legacy of God? Is it going to be a legacy of family? Or is it going to be a legacy of purpose? Please think about this. I know of a young man, very, very dear to my heart. At the age of 43 years old, he lost his wife and 3 children. As a result of mental illness, his wife took her life and the life of 3 small children, 8 years and younger. How do you begin to live? How do you continue to live when you're faced with such a tragedy? Ladies and gentlemen, my brother lives. He lives, he laughs, he cries, and most importantly, he loves. And his life is a legacy to me and to all of us around today. I stand up here, propped up physically, spiritually, emotionally, because of all these legacies left to me. And I ask you, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Is it going to be a legacy worthy of emulation? Is it worthy of celebration? Is it worthy of preservation? What kind of legacy do you want to leave?